Hello and welcome. My name is Calliope and I'm going to be conducting this experiment today. We have a wide variety of tests ranging from following simple instructions, hearing tests, vision, some cognitive testing, and some fun ones as well. So I'd love to just get a start on this, if you don't mind. Okay, so the very first test is a suggestibility or hypnotizability test. It's called the lemon test, and it can tell us about your level of suggestibility, if you can be hypnotized. I will say this, it does involve some visualization. So if you don't have the ability to visualize in your mind's eye, I'm going to have you just focus on the sensations instead. There will be plenty of those through this. So I'm going to have you just close your eyes, and I'd like you to imagine you are in your kitchen. Imagine all the surfaces. What do those look like? If you have cabinets, or maybe butcher block, where's the sink? Where's the stove? And I want you to imagine that you are in front of a counter, table, wherever it is you tend to cut food. I'd like you to imagine that you have a cutting board in front of you. And on this board is a lemon. The lemon is bright yellow. It's fresh, fragrant, juicy, a little soft. You can feel how juicy it is if you squeeze it, and it has that little bit of give to it. I want you to imagine taking a chef's knife, one of those nice long triangular knives, and I'm going to have you cut the lemon in half. As you cut the lemon, maybe you can smell the zest, the juices dripping onto the knife. Then I want you to imagine taking one half of the lemon that you just cut. You're going to tilt your head back, and you're going to squeeze the lemon, all the juices, into your mouth and onto your tongue so that you can taste the citric acid, the little bit of sweetness, all the tang and sour. You're going to imagine this sour lemon flavor as best as you can. And then if you could repeat it with the other half. Take the lemon, tilt the head back, and squeeze the juice from the lemon so that it falls onto your tongue. And when all of the juice is gone from both the first and the second lemon, I'd like you to open your eyes. Okay? Now here's our key to this test. If you heavily salivated, you could feel your mouth water quite a bit. That means you are very highly suggestible, and you would have a rather easy time being hypnotized, generally. If you noticed a little bit of salivation, then this means you're likely more normal suggestibility or average suggestibility. And if you maybe got a tiny bit or not at all, then this means you're not very suggestible. And it doesn't necessarily mean you can't be hypnotized. It just means someone would have to really work with you to figure out what does work and what doesn't. Now, I myself am a very highly suggestible individual, so even just speaking the test, my mouth waters quite a bit. So, what is it that you experienced with this test? Excellent. Now, for our next test, this is going to test your attention, your ability to follow commands. I'm going to gather a few objects here. It's going to be very simple. This is a little game of Simon Says. We're going to start out real easy. The first thing I want you to do is, can you follow one of my fingers? Yes, I hope that you're looking somewhere else, as I immediately did not say Simon Says. Simon says to look at my nose. Despite all the distractions, just look at my nose. Good. Simon says to pick my right hand, what my right hand is to you, and watch the finger. Good. Simon says, don't look at me. Look anywhere else but me. Look anywhere but me. Good. Let's bring something else in here. If you could just look at the light. And now Simon says, look at the finger. Watch it move. And if you could look at the light. And Simon says to look at my nose. And Simon says to follow the light. Good. Simon says to pick an object to follow and track it using your eyes, whichever one you want. Simon says to look at the tip of the yellow stick as a paintbrush. And don't look at me. And look at the light. Simon says to look at the light. Simon says, don't look at the light. Simon says to pick a side of the scissors and watch that ring. Track it with your eyes. And look at my nose. And Simon says to look at the left side of the scissors. Follow it with your eyes. Simon says look anywhere but the yellow stick. Look at the scissors. Simon says to look at my nose. Just my nose. No matter what distracts you. And very good, okay. So, how was that? Did you find it difficult to keep track of what you were supposed to do versus what you were not supposed to do? I'm going to grab out a diagnostic tool. And I'm going to have you do something very simple here. I'm going to have you count the cycles of breath. So for example, if I tell you to breathe in and breathe out, that's one cycle. Breathe in, breathe out. That's 2 cycles. I'll just have you count how many cycles of breath that I ask you to do as I listen to your lungs. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. deep breath in and out. How many cycles of breath was that? Okay. Good. Now we're going to do a little hearing test with something called distraction. So, for example, maybe I'm whispering in this ear while in the other there's another noise happening that might trip you up a little bit. A little bit of attention, a little bit of focus, a little bit of hearing. So I'm going to grab an object that has a sound. I'm going to whisper words in one ear. I'd like you to repeat them despite the distracting sound. Arrow, bicycle, crystal, dawn, ether, friend, gall, heavy, iris, joker, king, minuscule, nano, opulent, petrify, rear, cue, stand, tussle, ultraviolet, violin, weather, xanthan, yellow, zebra, caterpillar, marker, effort, microphone, mist, wave, tire, pumpkin. Let's get one more sound. Splice, bucket, stucco, box, fuzzy, vent, while, temperature, February, guitar, refrigerator, table, wicker. Okay, how was that? Was that easy enough to distinguish the words from the distraction? Now we're going to play a little more of a fun game called 1 or 2. There are no wrong answers here. I'm just going to ask you, out of the 2 colors I show you, which one do you prefer? So, do you like 1 or 2? One or 2? Two or 1? Okay. 3 or 4? 3 or 4? 3 or 4? One or 2? 2 or 1? 1 or 2? One, 2. 1 or 2? 1 or 2? Okay. How about 3 or 4? 3 or 4? 4, 3. 3, or 4. 4, or 3. 4, or 3. Last one. 1, or 2. 1, or 2. 1, or 2. We are going to do another simple test that simply involves me calling out a body part and you directing your attention to said body part, focusing on it as best as you can, feeling the sensations in that area. So if I say to focus on your forehead, have you just focus right here. Feel the wind on your skin. Maybe the light beating of sweat from the summer. Feel any sensations along here. Any tension. I'm going to have you focus on your left pinky. Your left pinky finger. Put all of your attention into your left pinky. Feeling the sensations there. The skin, the wind. Maybe where it's touching your other finger. Maybe where it's resting against fabric or skin. Now if I could have you focus on your right knee. Focus on your right knee. And then how about your right eyebrow? Good. And your left ear. Feel maybe any hair around the ear, folds of the ear. Feel your ears interpreting sound. Feel where it's attached to the head. Now focus on your left big toe. All the way down to the left big toe. Good. And the right side of the nose. What kind of sensations can you feel there? And how about the right side of the jaw? What can you feel on the right side of the jaw? If you could feel your left wrist. The left wrist. And then how about the left hip bone? What all can you feel around the left hip bone? Can you feel your right heel? The right heel of the foot. Feel maybe the surface underneath your heel. Maybe the texture of your socks or shoes if you're wearing any fabric. How about the left temple? Feel all these sensations at the left side of your temple, right in here. Maybe some muscle tension. Maybe the air around you. Maybe little baby hairs. And if you could focus on your right pinky toe. Tiniest toe on the right side. Lastly, you could focus on where your heart is. Where you can maybe possibly feel the little ripples where your heart is beating, just that whisper of movement as the valves open and close, open and close, open and close. Let's flip the page. Now I'm going to do another hearing test with you. And you are going to tell me whether you hear something near or far. Now it's going to be fairly distinguishable. It's going to be very near or very far. You just tell me, near or far. 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 for you to distinguish between the distances. I have a couple of language tests for you. The first one is a word association test. I'm going to say a word and you just say the first word that comes to mind. There are no wrong answers whatsoever. So, for example, the first word is bark. What's the first word that comes to mind? Good. I will just keep reading these. You say the first thing that you think of. Candle. Purple. Cork. After. Small. Tree. Concrete. Paper. Metal. Sky. Effort. Pink. Rope. Linen. Bag. Owl. Loop. Standard. Boat. Puff. Gray. Fold. Plaid. Fan. Okay. Well, personally, some of those, for example, the owl one, I'm always reminded of the spoof owl trowel commercial. Do you have piles of owls constantly blocking your driveway? Well, then you need the owl trowel. And of course, for Puff, it was the magic dragon. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a word problem here. One of these things is not like the other. Some of them are very obvious, some of them are not. And some of them really could be argued one way or another. It's just up to your discretion. I'm going to give you 5 words, and you tell me which one is not like the other. Bonus points for what the group is. Plastic, fabric, wicker, metal, jam. Okay, and what's the group? Materials. Rose, daisy, mum, flag, lavender. Which one does not belong? What are the rest? Flowers. Jump, carpet, couch, TV, table. What are the rest? Yeah, parts of the house or a living room. Good. Black, exit, purple, blue, yellow. Good. The others, colors. Brownie, cake, cup, buckle, crisp. This one might be a bit tricky if you're not familiar with baking. This cup does not belong. And what are the rest? Yes, they're desserts. Most of those are actually, or the buckle and the crisp are fruit desserts more specifically. Hail, snow, rain, skate, sleet. Okay. Those are types of, weather or precipitation. Waffle, jack, pancake, bacon, biscuit. Okay, and the others. And breakfast foods, or just food in general. Plaid, dots, houndstooth, pillow, stripes. Okay, these are all patterns, good. Calculus, trigonometry, decimal, algebra, statistics. Okay, and the others are types of math. Yep. Decimal point, move the decimal point. And last one here, DVD, CD, cassette, vinyl, 8-track. This one's the trickiest of them all. In this instance, yes, DVD is out. What are the others? Yeah, ways to play music. Hard copy items for music. The very last test I have for you is an intuition test. I have, let's just pick out a few colors. Red, blue, purple, green, and pink. That's all we have, 5 colors. So you have a 20% chance of getting this right. Red, blue, purple, green, pink. Now you just tell me what color you think I am holding. That's all you have to do. What color am I holding? This is pink. What color am I holding? Purple. What color am I holding? Red. What color am I holding? Green. What color am I holding? Blue. Mix these up again. What color am I holding? Red. What color am I holding? Pink. What color? Blue. What color? Purple. What color? Green. We'll do one last shuffle. One last test. What color am I holding? Pink. What color? Green. What color? Blue. What color? Red. And what color? Purple. Excellent. So, that is going to conclude the experiment for today. Yes, that I needed. So, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me for this following instructions experiment. I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you.